The three key drivers for the project from a council and community perspective was about replacing a facility that was outdated and not really facilitating the services that was required. Also looking at providing a safe opportunity for visitors to view the heritage-listed Glasshouse Mountains. And thirdly, trying to capitalise on the opportunities to engage and educate our local community with the rainforest itself.
The Mary Cairncross Scenic Reserve is sited 400 metres above sea level on the Melania Escarpment. It has a unique subtropical alpine climate, which is quite different from the coast. We get extreme weather that comes from the southeast predominantly, and we have a benign northerly aspect. We organise the cafe and the lookout terrace as a windbreak facing due south into the prevailing weather. And then the cafe opens in good weather to the south, and in poor weather it can open to the north. So we've created a little sun trap. And then the Discovery Centre faces north as a pavilion that's separated by about 6 meters. So you create a void in the middle that's open to the environment. And then the Discovery Centre faces north into the forest. And that gives you this amazing view of the forest with floor-to-ceiling glass and a terrific solar aspect that comes in winter with just the right amount of overhang to heat up the slab and make it comfortable year-round. So we use a combination of fixed glass and louvers. The fixed glass to maximize the view and the louvers to allow maximum ventilation.
The building itself isn't the thing that is the attractor to the site, it's the site itself. So a key part of the design was to actually make the visual impact of the building less. So we worked with the existing stands of trees that were on the site to shield the building from view.
It's a 2-story building, but actually the second story will eventually be a vegetated trellis. Right now you can see the structure of it, but it will actually physically and literally blend in with the canopy.
There's flora and fauna that's of significance from a state level. Within the site, you've got a number of protected animal species. You've got the Richmond birdwing butterfly, for example, the tusked frog. So by pulling the building back, we were able to create another pond close to the edge of the glazing on the north that is an additional habitat for that frog that brings them closer to the building. From an interpretive perspective, that's exciting. The construction of the boardwalk was a very interactive process between council and ourselves. The routes were actually the driver of the position of the columns. So we went through the process of looking through what it meant to get an accessible ramp to go up the level. We looked at the experience within the forest and what were the key view lines. We actually located the columns and then worked backwards to design the boardwalk and just created a very narrow corridor to construct the boardwalk.
A number of local advisory groups were established, which were a checkpoint in the local community to ascertain the appetite for what was being proposed, because it was a considerable change as to what was here previously, and there was a lot of connection from the local community in Mary Cairncross.
We had Kelly from Focus, who, from an interpretive perspective, who started the journey from the beginning. Having someone on board from the beginning in the design of the whole place, landscape architecture, interiors, who could tell the stories, portray them effectively, communicate them effectively, and in a fun way that engages with the kids.
That's right. Yeah.
Was particularly exciting.
The Mary Cairncross process, I believe, has actually looked holistically at incorporating heritage and cultural heritage and traditional owner views into the building design itself, all of the way through to construction. And in this case, I'm pleased to say that the Ginnabarra people are now a critical part of the post-construction use of the building.
From a design perspective, we're excited about it because I think having that involvement from the beginning, we're able to actually see things in a different way. And just listening is probably the most important thing that we found. We learnt a lot through just listening and having a lot of fun. And it adds another dimension to opportunities that you look at as a designer for a space in a building, or even just what the place will become.
What has happened is incorporated the needs of the Aboriginal people, but also the needs of the non-Aboriginal people too. And it's like it's incorporated. It's like a community centre where it's all about reconciliation. See, the interest that this place has created, and then like we take every opportunity to come up here and be part of it. And it's all about us coming together and being part of something that's very special. Like in our day, we used to call them corroborees, where we used to all come together and have celebration. Now, this place here it symbolises a corroboree, like we call it a community centre now, where everybody comes together from everywhere, all over the place, tourists and everybody, and to enjoy themselves and appreciate what has been built here for the benefit of the community, not of just one or two people or one group of people, just for everybody. And that's important.
So the plan is very simple. It's just a cruciform shape that opens up towards the view to the Glasshouse Mountains to the south, and then opens up in a glass wall facing the north into the rainforest, and is bisected by an axis to catch the rainforest on the west.
The other thing we did too is use materials of the environment to reinforce those views. So you've got the stone walls that are blades that align with those views. And then you can actually see in some sections of the building, we've created landscape walls that continue on those into the landscape and then are in a direct alignment and access to the mountain beyond.
The concept of the viewing deck was just to take the ground plane and elevate it one story, but to make it feel like you're still grounded. And that elevated positions give you the best vantage over the Glasshouse Mountains.
By actually creating views to the rainforest and the tree canopy above, we were able to place the interpretive aspects of the tree canopy up in the upper level of the building. So you can actually directly view and experience almost in probably 270 degrees, the actual experience of the tree canopy.
The design of the building was inspired by its natural setting, which is so unique. The Glasshouse Mountains make this dark bluey black shade in the distance, and we picked up on that color, and we picked up literally on the stone. So we used the basalt to form the anchoring blade walls, which organize the view and the main structure of the building. We then used endemic species of timber. In ironbark for the cladding, we used tallow wood and blackbutt for the internal finishes and for the decking.
And the idea was that the building itself integrates with the site and weathers over time. One of the key aspects of the design of the centre was creating a space where you weren't actually entering to the face of a building. You're actually entering into a precinct, if you like, between the two buildings with the view as the focus. So by activating the edge of that through the cafe edge, you've got the viewing deck that views down on the entry, and then the bridge that floats within that view as you enter. You create the activity and the vibrance of the space.
And it makes a meeting point for when people come to the centre. You always say, we'll meet in the forecourt under the bridge typically.
I think one of the fun aspects of design too was creating spaces for kids. So one of the fun things is we've created a space down on the north that is close to the pond with low height windows. It's a very confined and very child proportioned space, so they can just sit and view kind of tucked away from the main space and enjoy that interaction with the environment. One of the key outcomes we were after was for all aspects of the Rainforest Discovery Centre, the cafe, to be accessible. So with a combination between the boardwalk and the lift and the subtle changes in level, we were able to achieve that.
The building is self-sufficient. It harvests its own rainwater. It uses electricity that is farmed actually off-site by the council's solar PV farm. And it's solar passively designed, so it's thermally coupled to the ground. It has no heating and cooling except for two small sections of the building, but generally it's passively heated and cooled. And by thermally coupling it to the ground at about 19 degrees, it keeps it comfortable year round. The ventilation also adds to that. That was a fundamental part of the resilience of this building, is not relying on reticulated water. It manages its own sewage as well. This is typical for sites up in Mullaney that are in a rural setting like this.
A lot of visitors are time constrained, or they might have mobility issues, and as a result they can't go for a walk in the forest. Whereas now we have an elevated walkway which starts inside the building and goes around into the forest, and it's quite quick and easy for them to access, so that actually enhances their experience. And another example would be the viewing platform overlooking the Glasshouse Mountains means that people no longer need to run across the road and don't even need to leave the reserve, and they can get those wonderful views of the Glasshouse Mountains.
It's certainly been an interesting journey, having been here now for 5 years, looking at the visitation prior to the construction of this building being 75,000 to where we are now, just short of 200,000. It's quite remarkable of how the building has facilitated and enabled that process to take place.